All right, everybody, welcome to First Down Sports. This is an FDS exclusive here. Now, my guest that we're about to introduce here, I've known this kid for a long time. I've seen him play football at numerous different levels. Not only that, Andy, do you know what? They say nice guys don't play football. Well, this guy has proved that wrong numerous times. And tonight, for the first time, the locker room is being converted into the comfort zone as we welcome Dan Comfort to First Down Sports. Welcome, Dan.
Thanks for having us.
Welcome aboard. I heard that nice guys do play football. They just don't play football well, and Dan disproves that 100%.
I try to.
He disproves that for sure.
How many times have you heard that over playing football? That because I've heard that like anytime I ask anybody about Dan Comfort, they always say he's the greatest guy, nice guy, nice guy. I mean, how many times have you heard that through your career?
Enough. When I was in SageUp, they used to call me Smiley because I was always smiling. It's funny. I try to be really nice because sometimes I really have to be stern with the guys.
Yeah.
So I try to have the nice guy appeal for at least 90% of the time with them. And then when I have to just yell at them to do something, they're like, okay, we'll listen to him. He's not too bad.
All right. Well, I know this is going to be an easy interview tonight because I don't have to worry about the guests getting out of control, right? So,
well, let's hope not.
I'm going to start this interview off with a tough question. All right, let's get right into this and see where this interview goes. 2018 was a great regular season for the Moncton Mustangs.
Great regular season. It
didn't end the way you guys wanted it to end. The Wanderers came down and won on your turf. Talk to me about when you're playing that level of football in the MFL, Dan. How tough of a loss is that, and how long does it linger?
Well, it depends on the player. For sure, you never want to lose a championship ever. You always work hard during the regular season, knowing that you want to get to the playoffs, especially when you were there last year. For us, I think it's going to sting a lot, but it's the same thing we did to them last year, right? So the important thing for us to understand is that even though we win during the regular season, at the end of the day, especially in our league with only 4 teams, it's really those playoff games get really important. And you can't become complacent during the regular season. I felt the Wanderers got complacent last year. I felt they had a bit more leeway than we did. They had 5 years in a row. They had won a bunch of times in a row.
Right.
But I feel we had the same way. Sometimes your effort dwindles down a bit after winning multiple times. Sometimes a good regular season loss, a real close loss, sometimes that can get a team more focused on the details.
Right.
And I think at the end of the day, the Wanderers did a great job during the championship, brought a new look, really were able to disrupt our O-line. And I think for us, just making sure we keep attention to detail, whether you're winning or losing. And that's really any football team, any team ever. It doesn't matter if you win or lose. You always have to get better, just in case that you need to still be better for the championship game.
Wow.
Yeah, for sure. That first week when you guys played the Wanderers, I mean, you guys got the victory. You guys played well. They played extremely well too, and they really they had a total collapse on the bench. Like they completely self-destructed. Yeah. Going into that final game, is that something Coach Terrace and you were telling the guys over and over again? Is we beat them the first time. We have to play way better than that though to win this one.
Yeah, like that's the thing too. When you win games, it's not because you played perfectly. Right. Sometimes the other team just makes more mistakes than you do.
Right.
And that's it's a win, but it's not necessarily a good win. Like you want to win a team because you didn't make any mistakes.
Right.
So for us, those have to be the wake-up calls in seasons that you win every game. Those close games in which you still make mistakes have to be the games that you try to improve on, because you never know if the other team's just going to play a way better game the next time around, and especially during a championship game.
We've had Coach Terrace sit at I think he was at the end of the table there.
Yeah.
I remember when he walked in here for the interview. It was the first time I've seen him on the sidelines, but it's not like I hang out with this guy. He's a monster. Like he's
big guy.
He's a monster. Talk to me about the intensity that he brings as a head coach. What's it like playing for Coach Terrace?
Well, a guy like Coach Terrace, he doesn't have to say a word, and you just get so much respect from the guy. First of all, just his physique. Sure, he's huge, and that's intimidating, but also it garners respect real easily. But it's a guy who's won a Vanier Cup. He's played at multiple different levels. He understands. One of the big things I like about Coach Terrace is that since he's played in the Mustangs, he understands that it's a senior league, that the guys are there. Sure, they want to compete, but they want to have fun too. They're only there for 2 days a week for practices. Like he makes it fun. He understands that we're here, we're paying our own money to try to make a team and win a championship. So he's very good socially with the players, right? He gets real tight with the players. They understand each other. Weirdly enough, he tries to contain his emotions a lot. I'm sure, being a linebacker, I'm sure when he played, he was a leader by example.
Right.
He would do things the right way, do them with a good effort. And so for him, just like yelling at people doesn't necessarily get the point across, right? We're already scared already. We want to make sure we do the right thing. But so he doesn't do that. So he actually remains... He's probably more calm than all the coaches I've ever had. Wow! But so he really makes sure he's calm. He tries to say things with detail and with a certain amount of efficiency, and just try to get the message out. Because with a guy that size, you want to work hard for him anyways.
When you were at Mount A, were you under Coach Kelly Jeffries or Scott Brady?
So that's interesting as well for me. My first year was under KJ. Kelly Jeffries, and my 2 last years were under Scott Brady.
Okay.
And first year, for me, my first year at university is always a big debacle. You don't even know what you're doing.
Right.
You feel like you can't even count anymore.
Yeah.
Like everything's more difficult. But Kelly Jeffries was a quarterback coach first, and also offensive coordinator, and then became the head coach. So for him, it was a lot more offense oriented. A lot more, let's say, like emotionally driven. It was fun to play under him, just because he tried to make the offense fun, because that's what his side of the ball was. And then Scott Brady, completely different guy, more reserved, defensive coach. But for him, he brought an entirely different vibe to our defense. Our defense was just ridiculously good for those 2 years. And it's weird, but sometimes the head coach can just instill a different type of philosophy in the team and can impact both sides of the ball. And I felt with Scott Brady, he just brought another type of enthusiasm and kind of demeanor to the defense, which was really good for us. So whenever you have a defensive coach as head coach, you become more closely related with the offensive coordinator. Yeah. And vice versa. If the head coach is an offensive guy, you're more closely related to the head coach.
It's interesting to hear you talk about the 3 of them, because I know them all. I know all 3 of them from working the sidelines, at the AUS level and with the MFL as well. And you're right; they're 3 completely different individuals.
Yeah. So Scott Brady, Kelly Jeffries, and Gaetan Richard.
Yeah.
Yeah, completely different guys. Yeah. But it's good to have that variety, though. Yeah. You don't want 3 of the same people. Yeah, exactly. Because then you're like, if your personality, because that's another thing too at that level, like, well, whether it be in a workplace or with friends, like personality types is a big issue. Yeah. And you have to like make sure you gel with certain people. And having 3 people in leadership roles that have different personality types or very different people, it's good because it opens the door for different types of players to talk or try to open up or ask questions and be comfortable around the coaching staff.
Yeah. Sorry, Andy. I've just got one more, and then I'm going to let you.
Well, we've transitioned into Mountie talk here, and I'm totally fine with that. But before we completely walk away from the Mustangs conversation, I have one huge question, and that is, the comfort zone is coming back, right? Dan Comfort is the quarterback of the Mustangs next season.
Of course,
absolutely, excellent. All right, let's keep going with the Mounties. Ray, what do you got?
You
threw you off.
What's that?
Did I throw you off?
Yeah, you did throw me off a little bit.
I think you threw yourself off.
So yeah, here's what I want to ask is, as a university student playing football, how challenging does that make life as the student as well? Like does it cut into a lot of your student time being on the football team?
It shouldn't cut into your study time. For me, it didn't. I knew I wasn't going anywhere further than university level ball. So for me, I knew my education was very important. So I tried to put my academics first. But it puts a strain on something. So if you play football and you go to university, especially a university like Mount A, it's not a walk in the park. You're gonna have to work hard, go to every class, study hard for everything. Yeah. You're gonna have to cut a corner somewhere. For some of the players, they decide to cut academics, which is a bad idea because you need to do well and you have to pass to play at the end of the day, right?
And Mount A is not easy.
And no, Mount A is not a walk in the park.
Yeah.
You wouldn't go to Mount A just for an easy degree. But usually it cuts into social time, right? You can't go drinking all the time. You can't go to bars. Like, you don't have time to, right? Like, you practice at night. You might have workouts during the day. You have schoolwork to do. And at the end of the day, you have to sleep.
Right.
Right. So that's sometimes some of the players, like, they're just tired every day because they decide, I just won't sleep a lot. So you have to find a balance. Most of the time when it's football season, you have to set a schedule for yourself and really just, I have to do some homework. I have to go to class. I have to study film. And really, like, you'll see your friends once in a while, but really football season, they'll see you after mid-November. And it's easier when you have friends that are also on the football team.
Yeah, exactly.
They understand how that's like.
Well, the 2018 Mounties kicked off, and you mentioned that you got a chance to watch the game after the fact. You were busy and weren't able to get down. And we saw sort of a transition actually this year from Jacob Lukes, who's left the program, and now we have a new quarterback, Troy Downton, lefty. Love watching a lefty quarterback.
Yeah.
You've been a quarterback on the team. You know these guys. Yeah. So talk to us a little bit about the Mountie quarterback situation, obviously, and your unbiased approach. What should we expect this year? It was a tale of two halves in this game. So
it was completely.
Yeah. Just talk about the quarterbacks.
So I know during the recruiting season, everyone was talking about all these new recruits as quarterback coming into the scene at Mount A. And the thing is, Jacob Laux is a dime a dozen. Like, usually you don't have recruits walk on and be able to play right away. It's a complicated system. At the end of the day, the coach has to trust you. And trust isn't going to be built over like 3 weeks during a training camp. Like, you have to be there for multiple weeks, multiple meetings. They have to test you on the field, off the field, get a sense of what you can do as a person, as a player, and it's not feasible. It's not easily feasible in a couple of weeks' time. So that being said, I knew the recruits at quarterback weren't going to be in the picture anytime soon. Whether they're good or not, it's just a trust issue. Coach needs to trust them. I'm sure there's talented guys that we'll see later on, but for now, the quarterbacks there, Troy Downton, we have Brandon Smike from Ontario as well, and then we have the big Graham Kelly.
Who also punts the football.
We talk about over everybody. He looks like a linebacker at the QB position.
Well, if you were just to look at all the quarterbacks, you look at Graham Kelly and be like, oh, he looks like a guy who could play quarterback at the next level. And he's also got called up to the CFL to help out in one of the camps as camp arm at one of the CFL camps. And for him, he had transitioned to receiver last year, so he's coming back from that transition back to quarterback because he had injured last year. So he's back in the mix. Troy has been there. This is going to be his 5th season.
Yeah, this is it for Troy, right?
Yeah, so this is actually his 6th year at Mount A. He redshirted his 1st year, and now this is his 5th year playing. So if anyone knows the offense and knows what the coaches expect, and the coaches know exactly what they get with Troy. Right. So that's why I think he got the nod, is because the coaches know who he is, what he's got, what he's capable of.
So when you say that, Dan, we have a new head coach, Pete Fraser. Now, did Peter Fraser bring back a lot of the coaching staff that would be familiar with Troy, or is he like?
Well, he didn't bring anyone back. It was stipulated that he would keep them before he took the job.
Understood. Okay.
So the athletic director, everyone involved with what was happening, made sure that whoever the new head coach was going to come in was going to respect the fact that we had a lot of good coaches installed already at Mount A. And part of the deal was that, well, I've heard, right, that wasn't part in the... I didn't see his contract, but I know that part of it was that he was going to have to keep a lot of I think all the coaches that are there.
Okay.
It brings stability to the to the team, right? You have the same position coach. You're working with the same guys. You have the same OC. Let's say for offense, and now it's just with a new head coach. Sure, the defense can be different, but with a lot of coaches staying there, it's an easier transition for the head coach as well, right? You don't want to shake things up completely. Right, Scott Brady was a good coach for the guys and decided to go somewhere else. And you want someone to not necessarily replace them, but you don't want to shake the treehouse too much.
Yep. So talking about the coaches, I've been doing AUS now for 6-7 years. And one of my favorite things about the Mount A sideline was Coach Hopkins. Talk to me about Hoppy. Talk to me about what it was like having him on the sidelines, with you guys as a team, and how big he was, not only just to Mount A, but to football New Brunswick.
He is just a ball of energy. It is outrageous. Whether it be like the start of a Monday practice, whether it be the start of a Friday morning practice where everyone's tired and groggy at 6:30 in the morning, whether it be the last whistle of, or let's say a preseason game, like he was just always the most exciting guy out there. Really got the players going. Was just a fun guy to have. Very knowledgeable as well. Great coach. But I think the most important thing with Chris Hopkins was the energy that he brings to the athletes.
Right.
Whether it be at the university level, whether it be at the U18 level, like just his enthusiasm and energy really brings the best out of the players. And with a guy like Chris Hopkins, you just want to be as energetic as he is, or try to match his energy level, which no one is able to. But to be able to elevate all the athletes' enthusiasm to closer to his level makes them better football players, because it becomes fun. Yep. Because it's hard. Football's a hard game, but the more you're surrounded by people who are enthusiastic and that cheer you on, really make the game fun, even though it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's great.
Well, listen, go Mounties.
Of course.
But let's talk about your next venture here. So the Comfort Zone has returned to his high school now.
He has.
In a coaching capacity. Talk to us about what you're doing with Mathieu Martin.
So I'm back at Mathieu Martin this year. I'll be the offensive coordinator under the head coach Phil Long, which is a good friend of mine who I played high school ball with when I was in Mathieu Martin. He used to play running back. He was the offensive coordinator at Mathieu Martin for the last 2 to 3 years, I think, and now had become the head coach, and he was going to turn DC. And then he wanted to have me on his staff as the offensive coordinator. So I'll be that. I'll also be coaching the quarterbacks, which is, of course, something I love to do and love to coach.
Yeah.
So I'll be back to the high school. Hopefully I can help some younger kids get better at football.
Yeah. Sounds like a lot of fun. How many practices have you had so far?
This is going into our third week. We're at the start of our third week. We have an exhibition game this Friday at Harrison Trimble, which which is another team that's in 10-man in the 10-man league this year. So we wanted to get some, even though it might not be on the official schedule, we decided to have an exhibition game with Trimble just to get used to the 10-man style of ball, and of course trying to get some playtime against a team that we'll have to face this year.
Yeah. And that is the perfect segue to my biggest question. So I'm from Miramichi. We didn't even have football when I was in high school. There is a 10-man program up there now.
There's two now.
Yeah, there's two. JMH has one as well. So my return to Moncton and getting involved with Ray was my introduction to 10-man football. I said, 10-man football? What the hell is 10-man football? And then I come watch you guys, and it's 10-man 4-down football, and I'm trying to keep track of all this stuff. So you've played both, obviously.
Yep.
Is it a big transition? I'll ask at quarterback, but then for everybody as a whole, is it a big transition, and how are the returning players at Mathieu Martin handling this so far?
Well, for us, it's going to be easier because going from 12 to 10 simplifies the game.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, when you have less players on the field, you have less options of things you can do just because there's less players on the field. So it simplifies the game. The other thing is that there's more space. So when there's more space, you can really just give it to an athlete and have him run.
Right.
So it's a simpler game. It becomes quicker because there's more space. So for us, since we're going from 12-man to 10-man, it's going to be easier for the players. We can simplify things, not because we want to, because we can't do anything more complicated, just because we don't have enough players.
Not enough bodies on the field, yeah.
So for me as a player, like I said, it's a lot simpler. For me, I played 12-man in junior varsity, then back to 10-man when I played varsity at Mathieu Martin. Then I played, and that was all 3 down. Then I played 12-man at Cégep, but that was 4 down for some reason at Cégep, and then back to AUS ball, which is your classic 12 down, 3 down with 12-man football. So I've played, I think, every combination of football you can play in Canada. And at the end of the day, I think 3 down football, a lot of kicking game, you're gonna have to punt.
Right.
It's just part of the game, whether it be AUS, whether it be high school. When you're playing 3 down ball, you're gonna have to punt, and that's okay.
Right.
And that's important to tell the young kids is it's okay to punt. We're gonna have to punt multiple times in a game. So it's an important part of the game. for us, I think going down to 10 man is not going to be too much of a problem. Like I said, just because it's simpler.
Right.
Phil, the head coach, and I have both played in a 10-man system. We also have some 12-man experience as well. So we know what we can draw up. We know how complicated we can put things, and also put ourselves in their shoes, because we literally were in their shoes on that field practicing 6-7 years ago.
So when we go to watch a Matthew Martin game this year, who are some athletes right off the bat that we need to keep an eye out when we're covering them on local sports? Who should we be looking for this year?
So I think we have three good athletes to look at. One guy, our running back, Simon Gadet. He's going to be our starting running back. He's really good. He knows his reads, takes care of the football, runs downhill, has speed as well. So at the end of the day, a guy that I can give the ball to will hold on to it.
Yeah.
I'll take. We have a very good athlete in Justin Pino. He played at the U18 level. He is very dynamic.
Yeah.
Is someone we can put at slot receiver as running back. He's a type of athlete where you just try to get the ball in his hands and have him work with it. He had some injuries last year. We'll try to take care of him this year. And another marquee player, I think, for us has gone defense. His name is Xavier Malone. Also played U18 as a linebacker. He's going to play linebacker for us as well. And also just an incredible athlete. Can move well, and I think can create some big plays for us on defense.
Awesome.
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be great.
It's going to be fun. You just mentioned something I thought was quite interesting. You said you want a player that can hold the ball, an athletic player, and run downfield, right? So when you're the quarterback for the Mustangs, how do you feel when the play call comes in that you got to hand the ball to Mark Crandall?
How do I feel? I feel good because he never drops the football. I don't. When you play football, you have a lot of players that aren't the cutest or don't look really good when they play. But at the end of the day, players that play well and that know what they do are players that you can trust. So really, at the end of the day, it's the beast that you want, not the beauty. So
there you go. There you go, Crandall. He's the nicest guy in football. Yeah. There you go.
And even if you may not be the greatest athlete, I mean, if you have enough years experience under your belt, you can figure that part out, right?
Yeah.
So he's definitely got that. But yeah, you make a great point. I never thought about it that way, but yeah, the transition from 12 to 10 would be, a much, I guess, more favorable transition than the other direction.
Oh, of course.
And at this level, athleticism probably trumps everything, right? I mean, when you get down to the nitty-gritty details where you're, reading and being patient and running through the tackles and so on and so forth, at some point, and athleticism is enough to just overcome all of that at this level, right?
Yeah, of course. So, like, when you look at good high school teams, the best high school teams are usually very well coached and or have a really good athlete that they can that they can get in space and moving. Yeah. So when you get a combination of those two things, it can be really deadly for any other team. So we try to be good. We'll try to be really good coaches for our players, and hopefully we can get the ball in good hands.
Awesome. Well, we've talked about your coaches. I mean, you've played under a lot of great coaches. So now you're going to be coaching that quarterback at the home opener or game one of the season. What are you saying to this kid that's ready to go out and perform in front of not just your team, the other team, but the student body that shows up for a Matthew Martin game? You guys get a good crowd out there, especially come the Acadia Bowl, which is amazing. Yeah. But what are you saying to these kids as they're going out to play a big game like this?
You have to downplay it. Like, you have to tell them that it's the same thing we've been doing for the last 4 weeks, right? You've been throwing balls to open receivers. You've been running the correct way. We've been looking at certain things, right? Whether it be me looking at you and letting you know what's happening, whether it be the fans looking at you, telling you what's happening. We really have to go back to the simple things and be like, at the end of the day, it's the same thing, whether you be in front of 2 people or 2,000 people. So important to just fall back on the training and the practices and just have them think about all the drills we've done, all the dirty work they've had to do cardio-wise or training-wise, or all the little details we've talked about, because at the end of the day, you can't let that affect you, even though we know it does. Yeah. And as a player, I know it does. It affects you. But you have to, at the end of the day, your fallback has to be the training that in the practices that you've done. And if you've practiced well enough and hard enough, that safety net is really good for you, and you're able to do good things with a good crowd.
That's great. That's good stuff.
All right, Dan. Well, listen. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for bringing the comfort zone to the locker room.
Hold on. I got one more question for him just before he gets out of the locker room.
All right. What do we got?
A surprise question.
As you know, Dan, we have our FDS CFL show.
Mm-hmm.
We also have our FDS NFL show.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things that Andy and I are always trying to figure out when we're talking NFL or CFL is what's going on between the ears of a quarterback. It'd be great if you could join us someday on our NFL show to be our Sunday morning quarterback.
Yeah.
Right? You know, what's his name there
Like
from...
Tony Romo.
Yeah, like, you know... But
Well, he's a broadcaster.
he's a
yeah.
broadcaster. Who's the Monday morning quarterback that is on TSN all the time? He used to play for the Giants. I think he was on The Bachelor.
Sims or something?
I don't know, whatever his name is. But you could be our Sunday morning quarterback from time to time if you want to stop by.
You could just
and
have to
visit us.
invite me
Awesome.
more than this once. And
All right.
There we go. Exactly.
There you go. I wanted that.
We
Andy
absolutely had to ask that on the air.
Andy
Yeah.
says it's not going to happen. The nicest guy in football. I knew we couldn't say no. There you go, our Sunday morning quarterback.
Jesse James Palmer.
Jesse James Palmer. That's who I was talking
Carson
about.
Palmer's little brother. You want to be the Jesse James Palmer of First Down Sports, Dan?
He was on The Bachelor. I'm just saying.
That's great, man. All right. Anyway, thanks for coming in. We got some swag for you. We thank you very
Sounds
much
good.
for promoting our show for us. Really, we know which way the favorite goes.
We got a nice First Down Sports T-shirt for you.
That'll be nice.
All right.
And we'll be covering the high school scene this year, and we'll be paying very close attention to Matthew Martin now, and hopefully see you out there on the sidelines.
Please
go.
do.
Hopefully they'll let us roam the end zone,
There you
Yeah.
go.
like Mustangs game.
There's the comfort zone. Thanks again, Dan, for coming in.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.